Hi guys, this is the second sporozoan and coccidian video that I'm doing as a part of a series of parasites of the gastrointestinal tract. In this case, we're going to talk about Cryptosporidium parvum. As I just mentioned, this is both a sporozoan and therefore a coccidian as well. The parasite differs in the intracellular location of the organism as it works within the epithelial cells of the gastrointestinal tract rather than just kind of hanging out on top or nearby. All right, let's talk forms. Once again, this one's a sporozoan. So we have the two cycles, right? We have the asexual schizogony and we have the sexual gametogenesis, okay? So our diagnostic form is the oocysts, and they can be identified in the stools of infected individuals. In this case, the infected form is also the oocyst. So infected individuals excrete oocysts. People who have not yet been infected eat oocysts from the stool of infected individuals. Hopefully not directly, but accidentally. And that's how you wind up with infection. So how do we wind up getting sick from this? What's the pathogenesis? So basically, C. parvum are found within the brush border of the intestinal epithelia. Basically, the coccidia attach to the surface of the cells and replicate by a series of processes that include gametogeny. And that leads to production of new infectious oocysts. The oocysts are then going to mature, and if they mature, they might exist within the digestive tract of the host. In this case, it can actually cause basically a new infection of cells in that patient, or it can be secreted into the environment, okay? So once these oocysts mature, they have options. They can leave and go infect somebody else, or they can say, exist and infect the patient again in new cells. Where do we find it? Worldwide. It's all over the place. We can find it in a wide variety of organisms too. Mammals, reptiles, fish. Pretty much it likes water. So it's going to be anywhere water is, and therefore animals drink water. They often also secrete in your water or excrete in your water. So it contaminates the water supplies. More animals eat. You get it. And one of the things that's really tricky about these that makes water transmission important is that these organisms are actually resistant to normal purification procedures for water, like chlorination and ozone. So these are kind of the two ways that we tend to clean our water supplies, and that will not get rid of C. parvum. So you have a significant zoonotic reservoir, and you can also get zoonotic spread from animal reservoirs to humans. You can also get person-to-person spread through the fecal-oral or anal-oral routes, and therefore you've kind of got a large. There's no real one way to avoid C. parvum. It just kind of is. And so the people that we worry about the most are animal handlers and veterinary personnel. These are the people that are most likely to be exposed to C. parvum. Okay, so what kind of disease are we talking about? Thankfully, like most parasitic infections, most people are going to be asymptomatic. If you have a healthy, immunocompetent human, disease is typically self-limiting and mild. You get an enterocolitis characterized as non-bloody watery diarrhea, so it's not really invasive. Spontaneous recovery normally occurs about 10 days. If you have an immune-compromised individual, this can actually get rather severe. In that case, we may see up to 50 or greater than 50 or more stools per day, significant fluid loss, which obviously represents a significant dehydration risk. And if the patient is truly immunocompromised, you can have severe disease lasting for years to months. So this can actually be very severe if the patient doesn't have an intact immune response. So how are we going to go ahead and diagnose this? Basically, you're going to diagnose it by the very large numbers of the organism in the stool of the immunocompromised individual. So this is what I'm talking about, the person that's going to have, 50 or more stools per day and that significant fluid loss. You'll be able to take a sample and you're going to see lots of organisms. You can detect the oocysts by using modified acid-fast method or an indirect immunofluorescence assay. We also have ELISAs and PCR. So there's a lot of ways to detect it. And like I said, there's lots of them present in the stool. Now, you might need to collect serial samples, just like I talked about with Giardia. You can see kind of showers of C. parvum, where you'll have lots of organisms in the stool one day and not so many the next day as the organism is making its way through the life cycle. Serologic tests are not currently available, so don't even bother with those. And part of the reason this one can actually go chronic and can be so debilitating is currently there doesn't seem to be a really great recommended treatment. So really what we're talking about is making sure you avoid it in the first place. So try to only drink from clean water sources, avoiding animals that may or may not already have this infection, and practicing safe sex.